The heartless obey me now, Sora. Now I have nothing to fear.
You're stupid!
Hello, we're Bloobcast, and my name's James.
I'm Ewan.
And I'm Rob. But the question is, why are we called the Bloobcast?
Yes,
Yep.
Yes, welcome to another episode of the Bloobcast. This episode is a very special episode because it will be the first episode that gets copyright struck.
Now listen, this is important. Only the copy
Right. Owner.
has the
Right.
to use
There.
work.
Because today we are discussing Kingdom Hearts, the original and easily best game to feature the voice talents of Sean Astin, Brian Blessed, and Dan Castellaneta. Kingdom Hearts follows the adventures of Sora, Donald, and Goofy. So not Mickey, Donald, and Goofy, but Sora, who's like an anime cartoon character, who go on a mad adventure around the various Disney worlds to defeat the evil monsters called the Heartless and some other scary bad guys, including a lot of the Disney villains. It's one of the absolute maddest things to ever come out of the year 2002, and it's a dear game that's stuck in my mind and in my brain and in my childhood memories and everything, because I played it a lot as a kid. And yeah, no, I'm very excited to be discussing Kingdom Hearts.
I love the part where Bugs Bunny shows up and seals the door to darkness.
What's up, Sora?
You mentioned Sora being like an anime character,
Yeah.
but one thing I thought was cool was that Sora's kind of a blending of the aesthetics of Disney and Final Fantasy, because
Yes.
he looks like an
Yeah.
anime character, but at the same time he looks like a Disney character. It's kind of like the melding of the two worlds, which is really fitting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think what you've made a good point. One thing I did notice about the original characters in Kingdom Hearts is that they do have the similar clothes and colour palettes to other Disney characters. Even Sora's shoes looks a bit like Mickey Mouse's
Yes,
shoes.
yeah, there's definitely that going on there. Like, even he's got a bit of red in his outfit, like the red shorts, and that's very clearly like a Mickey Mouse red shorts kind of idea. Oh yeah, I should mention Final Fantasy, because of course, yes, this is the big combination between Disney and Final Fantasy, which is just insane as a concept, but it somehow exists, including characters, yes, from Final Fantasy VII, Final Fantasy VIII, and Final Fantasy X. Yeah, it's crazy that this exists, but it's also wonderful, and it's amazing that it exists, and I'm very happy.
I honestly had no idea that they were Final Fantasy characters. I just thought they were random anime characters playing along the place, but then I realised later on at university, I was like, oh, actually, this is from another game franchise. That's interesting.
Well, what's cool about it is that those characters themselves, unlike the Disney characters, are placed within the context of the story. So whereas the Disney characters, you go to the Disney world, so you go to it's like going to Disneyland. It's literally the kind of the conceit of the game is that you go to Wonderland and you go to the Mermaid world, and you go to Neverland. You go to all these places, and the whole point is like it's going to Disneyland. Whereas with the Final Fantasy characters, they're actually built into the Kingdom Hearts mythology, like they're part of the story. And I think the coolest character is definitely Cloud from Final Fantasy VII. I love his redesign.
Oh yes.
And he's just like, he's literally got this whole mysterious backstory. It gets his character down probably even better than his game did, which is really impressive. Yeah,
It's so weird seeing Cloud Strife, this tough, edgy character with a complex backstory, tough guy attitude, big sword, and his ability to take on gods. In Final Fantasy VII, I should add.
Yeah.
But in this game, he's defeated by Cerberus and then rescued by Hercules. Both are Disney cartoon characters, and that just blows my mind.
It's very fun.
Yeah, I've not really played Final Fantasy VII. I played a bit of it last year and then got sidetracked by other games because it is a long game.
It is. I finished it when I had COVID.
I think it is really cool. I think it is cool seeing Cloud interact with Hades from Hercules. It's cool seeing them play off of each other.
That little punk is your next opponent, okay? Don't blow it. Just take him out.
The great god of the underworld is afraid of a kid?
Yeah, it's a fun dynamic.
Even if James Woods is a terrible person.
Yeah, that's a thing, isn't it?
But that's the other crazy thing I mentioned about the voice actors. Yes, they did get James Woods back to voice Hades as he was in the Hercules film. And I noticed as well that they got Jodie Benson, who voiced Ariel, to come back to voice Ariel in The Little Mermaid world. It's crazy. Like, they got all of these voice actors
Brian
back.
Blessed.
You can't beat the best.
Brian Blessed to voice Clayton, yeah. And Dan Castellaneta. So this is a funny one. So Robin Williams didn't voice the genie in Aladdin 2, which is like the VHS Return of Jafar. There was like a whole... Well, he always had a beef with Disney anyway, didn't he? I think it was like...
He wanted... Yes. He basically didn't want his voice to be turned into this marketing thing.
He didn't want it to be like stunt casting like we get now,
Yeah. So for the second film, they got Dan Castellaneta, the voice of Homer Simpson, to come and voice the genie in Aladdin 2. And here he is, Dan Castellaneta in Kingdom Hearts.
The one and only Genie of the Lamp!
He didn't just voice him in Aladdin 2, he also voiced him in the Aladdin animated series. Which I think Return to Jafar was like kind of like a spin-off of the TV series as well as a sequel to the movie.
Right, well that would make sense because it was like a direct-to-video film, wasn't it, as well?
Yeah.
But yeah, so I guess we should discuss how we discovered Kingdom Hearts going in. I'm not going to start with me. James, you start first. I want some...
Sure.
A random opinion coming in.
No, it's cool. And if I'm perfectly honest, it's kind of a bit vague even to myself. I'm not 100% sure which is correct, but I do think it's one of two events. So I remember first getting the PS2. It was for my brother. He got it as a present. But we've kind of ended up sharing it. I played a lot of games. I probably played more games on it than he did, actually, to be honest. And we had a demo disc. I remember having this demo disc. And it wasn't an actual demo you could play for Kingdom Hearts. But there was an extended sort of teaser for it, and it had the music playing. And I remember seeing this on the screen with like all these Disney characters showing up and all this beautiful music and stuff, and I was just like, oh my gosh, this looks amazing. And I remember that very vividly as a kid, and I actually played that teaser over and over and over again because I was just awestruck by it because I thought it was amazing. But also, I remember correctly, there was an old game shop called Game, and I used to go there all the time to buy second-hand games.
Game still exists.
Does it still exist? Oh, It's just my local one closed down. I didn't know if the business still existed. So I went to Game. Hasn't gone the way of Wolves yet. I went to Game and picked up a few games from there. I remember getting Pac-Man 3D, or Pac-Man 2 I think it was, and a few other games. But Kingdom Hearts was one of them, and I remember seeing the cover for it and just feeling really, really confused because I saw like all these kind of anime characters, and it looks kind of like edgy a little bit, the artwork and stuff at the front. At the bottom of it you can see all these Disney characters just floating around. I was just really confused by it. So I played that and I remember really enjoying it, but I could never finish it. I even remember getting really stuck on the tutorial, and I'd spend hours just trying to figure out where the map was, for instance, where all the objects were that you had to find. I was really bad at playing video games when I was younger, it goes without saying, but then as I got older I really got more into the series. I think I appreciate the series a bit more as I got older. I always kind of liked it, but as I got older I kind of think I was a bit more able to access it. I liked Kingdom Hearts 2. I discovered that a bit later on down the line. But yeah, no, I've always had a love for Kingdom Hearts. I listen to the soundtrack still, and I think it's a wicked game. So,
yeah, no, it's fascinating that you said Game, because that's where I discovered Kingdom Hearts as well. So,
wicked.
Yeah, I don't know if it's... I think there is still a Game in Blue Water. So Blue Water's this big shopping centre outside
it's
London.
Still there.
It feels like it's on its way out, doesn't it?
Yeah, but it's still there, and we used to go there. Mum and I, when I was younger, we would go there every now and then, and I'd go to the game shop, and I saw this game, and you got to remember that my mum was really strict about games that I could play, so I couldn't buy anything that was like a 12, when I was like 10 or 9 or whatever. Kingdom Hearts I think was a 7+, so that was like perfect for me to get. Like, you gotta remember as well, when I was growing up, the games I was playing was like Mickey's Wild Adventure, also known as Mickey Mania, and and Toy Story 2 on the PS1. So games like that, there was
Spyro.
Well, yeah, Spyro, but like what I mean is Disney-affiliated games in some way or another. I played Tarzan on PS1 as well. And so...
And didn't you have the skateboarding game, the Disney skateboarding?
Yeah, Disney skateboarding with the Tony Hawk Pro Skater 4 engine or something like that. Yeah, that was a great game. I really enjoyed that. But yeah, so I played a lot of Disney games anyway. And then, yeah, same as James, I saw this box art cover where it's like, yeah, these anime kind of characters. There's a kid with a key, like a giant key. And I'm like, what is that? But then it had Donald and Goofy on it. And I was like, this is easily the most intriguing thing anyone has ever created and put on a video game cover. And yeah, because it was a 7+, I was able to be like, oh mum, can I get this? And she was like, yeah, sure, you know, it's got Disney on it. It's a perfect thing for a kid to pick up. Yeah, oh my god, I infuriated my friends with this game in primary school. I was so annoying. So I apologize years after the fact that to my friends that I did not shut up about this game for a very long time. I don't know what it was.
That was like me with Reboot in secondary school.
Yeah. I mean, I knew to shut up about Kingdom Hearts once I got to secondary school, but definitely for about 2 years or so at primary school, I did not shut up about Kingdom Hearts. I played it a lot, and then I didn't finish it, and then I played Kingdom Hearts 2, so it was really odd, because not only had I not finished Kingdom Hearts 1, but obviously at the beginning of Kingdom Hearts 2 is like, there's a completely different thing going on in that story, and it's like, what is going on? It's crazy, but anyway.
Because you didn't play the one on the Game Boy Advance.
To be fair, the original point was that there would be a big time jump with 2, and that the idea was that the middle was going to be left to be a mystery, but then there was a push to tell that story, which then resulted in Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories, this kind of interim game. It was a complete chance thing that I discovered Kingdom Hearts, because I never saw any adverts for it or anything. And I've just been a big fan ever since. Yeah, I've got a big collection of all the manga books as well. I've got the collector's editions of the games. So I've got Kingdom Hearts 1.5 Remix and 2.5 Remix, which has like the concept art for the series. Yeah, it's great.
I feel like we should just explain to listeners, because you made a very good point there about the confusion between jumping Hearts 1 to 2. Kingdom Hearts 1 is definitely the first Kingdom Hearts game. There's no doubt about that. There's no complexity to that. It is Kingdom Hearts 1.
Okay.
Kingdom Hearts 2, however, is actually Kingdom Hearts 3. Kingdom Hearts 3, however, is Kingdom Hearts 12. And Kingdom Hearts... and I think Kingdom Hearts 4, which has been announced, will be technically Kingdom Hearts 15.
Yeah.
So we need to...
Yeah, I'm not playing for any of these.
No, I remember being frustrated as a kid, because a lot of these games were released on different consoles. So I think Chain of Memories was eventually released on PS2, but it was originally released on the Game Boy Advance, and I didn't have a Game Boy when I was a kid, so it was really frustrating.
The PS2 release, I think, was Japan exclusive.
Yeah.
It was only when we got like the 1.5 collections that it was brought over.
Yeah, that would make sense. So I only played as a kid. I only played Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2, and I beat 2 before I beat 1. Weirdly enough. But yeah, no, so I eventually went back and beat 1 completely, and it's a great, very satisfying game to beat. I think one of the reasons why I've been a big fan of this series is that it's one of the few games where I know Rob is going to have things to say about this, but I find the combat really satisfying to play.
I like it.
I love it. And especially the first game, more so than the second. I think the second game is easier to play, but I love the kind of the weightiness of 1. Like, Sora actually feels like he's holding a big hammer that he's like swinging around randomly and hitting people with. And so I don't know, I just find it a very satisfying game to play. So coming back to it to play for Bloobcast was a real joy for me. But anyway,
absolutely.
Rob, tell us about Kingdom Hearts.
Okay, here we go. So I think, like James, my first exposure to Kingdom Hearts was on a PS2 demo disc which I had. Because I remember, I think the back of the box described it as like the Kingdom Hearts trailer said Final Fantasy does Disney. I'm like, what does that mean? So I watched the trailer and it was like, oh, okay, I get this. So you're going through all these Disney worlds, this Final Fantasy anime character dude. And yeah, that was about it until I think 2006 when I was about 13, when one of my sisters in Woolworths bought Kingdom Hearts 2. And I played a bit of that, but at the time she got it, I got Simpsons Hit and Run, so I played that more often than not, and I'd argue is probably a better game. I digress.
No.
We also played a bit of 358/2 Days on the DS, and I think I did play the first game on the PS3 collection a few years ago, but again, this is during that time in my last year of uni where I had lots of stuff going on, and yeah, that was one thing that I never got round to finishing. Also got lost. But yeah, so my first playthrough, or quote unquote full playthrough, because as we'll get into, I didn't end up finishing this game, was for this episode, and I was playing the original PS2 version. And yeah, we'll get into more of my thoughts later on because mine aren't quite on the same page as Ewan and James's.
Yeah, well, that's cool. I mean, at the end of the day, not every game's for everyone.
Yeah, I had a whole thing about that is no one likes every game ever made, and it is possible to dislike something without thinking it's bad.
Well, I mean, you only need to go back to the Resident Evil episodes we've done for me to just, like, literally say in every episode, I did not finish this game. I had a bad time. So, but yeah, no, that's cool.
I want to discuss the opening cutscene. There is a reason why, because as soon as I started playing the game and the first cutscene started, and there is this early 2000s dance pop song playing. When that happened,
it's great.
I just burst out laughing. Because it just reminded me of
amazing.
YouTube AMVs, but before YouTube and or AMVs were a thing. Like, I think you could just take out that song and put like Linkin Park over the top and it would fit.
Right, yeah. No, I know what you mean. It's got that kind of cutscene montage idea going on, hasn't it? It's amazing. It's such an early 2000s thing to do, I guess, like to have this almost like MTV moment at the start of the game.
That,
it's so fun. I love it. It's a really cool intro as well, and then it leads on to like Sora. It's like almost like he's having an amazing weird dream, which is really cool. And then of course he falls from the sky and collapses into the water and then finds himself on this weird tower thing, which then leads onto the gameplay. But it's such a great, cool, abstract but it is, it's like a music video. It's so, you've got to kind of get on Kingdom Hearts level. It's a very cringy series
it's very
in
odd.
general.
Oh yeah, especially Riku's dialogue, because whenever Riku said something, I was just like rolling my eyes. Like it was,
it's the most emo character.
Riku, why did you become one with the darkness?
'Cause I'm the worst.
Riku, you horse's ass!
Well, I like Riku, but I'll explore that in just a second. Because we are talking about the start of the game. And this leads into what I wanted to bring up just a second ago, which is that you go through the music video, and then you get this tutorial. And it's a very interesting tutorial where suddenly it goes from being this sort of 2000s thing to suddenly this really kind of chilling moment where you see this kind of like stained glass painting of Disney princesses. And you have to run around and fight monsters, and it's very chilling.
But it's really, despite the Disney princesses, it's an incredibly sinister sequence. And like it's very weird and mysterious.
Because it's very like ambiguous. Like you don't know what exactly everything is. If you kind of ask, like, pick a stat, and you have no idea what this is going to mean.
Exactly, but that's a very good point, because this is one thing I wanted to debate, and this is really important in the early part of the game, is whether or not Kingdom Hearts is an RPG. And I want to say yes, but in the most unconventional way, because there's this big debate, and I've had this conversation with you before, about what constitutes an RPG or like a adventure game that has RPG elements. And to an extent, on the surface, it looks as if like Kingdom Hearts is basically an adventure game with RPG elements. There's a linear story, you don't really customize your character or roleplay per se, but then equally, the tutorial itself is the most RPG thing I've probably ever seen in any video game ever. You don't, basically, you get talk to characters, say, are you this and that? Are you more courageous? Are you more this? Is this your trait? Then you also pick a weapon for yourself and stuff like that. And you're not really playing as Sora, you're playing as you and how you determine
it is you,
and that also determines the rest of the game later on as well. There's like this really concrete RPG moment that solidifies the adventure later on. So in that regard, I think there's an argument to be made that it is an RPG. I think maybe.
Oh yeah, no, I definitely say it has role-playing elements. I think at most it's like an action RPG.
I think
action RPG.
Yeah.
That's the genre. I think that's probably where a lot of stuff, because I don't really play JRPGs very often aside from Pokemon, which is of course for kids, and so things are very simple.
All for everyone.
But you know what I mean. It's for a younger kind of demographic primarily, so it's a lot easier. Whereas I'm not used to playing JRPGs, so that's probably where a lot of my problems from the game stem from.
I mean, I don't think that's necessary.
Well, this isn't turn-based, so it's a bit different.
I think the things
it is still a hack and slash kind of idea.
I don't think it's the RPG elements that's the issue. I think it's more because I do know where you're coming from.
I'm just terrible.
No,
at the game.
no. I'm not saying that at all. Because I think, to be fair on you, it is a difficult game. I do believe this, and even as a kid, as I said before, I could not finish it, and even as an adult,
I never finished it as a kid.
I had a hard time with it. Like Hollow Bastion, as much as I love that level, and we'll explore that a bit later on, there are some things in that level where I just think, what the hell were the developers thinking?
Yes, there were things I liked in this game, and I really liked the opening.
Yeah.
It's a bit slow, but it kind of reminds me of the start of a movie, because we get to know the main characters, so when the plot kicks in, we can start to care about them. We learn that Sora's fond for Kairi, and he's got a rivalry with Riku, and then once we've established all that, all hell breaks loose, and then we suddenly get given this key to fight shadow monsters.
Well, I wanted to talk about that. So the story is that it's the trio of friends is Sora, Riku, and Kairi. They live on this apparently paradise world where it's like a beautiful, island and all of this sort of thing. And it's very much like a kind of a Disney opening where you've got the main character who's saying, I'm bored of my current lot. I want to be where the people are. I want to be part of that world. I will go the distance. I just can't wait to be king. It's that kind of idea where the characters are all yearning. I want to go out and see the world. That's their main story.
I just can't wait. Once we set sail, it'll be great.
And then a horrifying thing strikes when their island suddenly gets engulfed by this, these shadow monster horrors that were in Sora's dream, which is a cool kind of little foreshadowing. And then Riku kind of accepts, oh my god, this is our opportunity to leave this island and go, but he kind of accepts the kind of evil world.
Once we step through, we might not be able to come back. We may never see our parents again. There's no turning back. But this may be our only chance. We can't let fear stop us. I'm not afraid of the darkness.
And Kairi disappears completely, and then Sora's the only one who's left behind as the entire island gets destroyed, and then he gets sucked into a portal. And then he wakes up and he gets rescued by Pluto, Mickey's dog. Mickey Mouse's dog. It's very... It is... Of all people, it's literally that idea of, what would happen if... It's like a almost Jessica Rabbit kind of idea. Like, what would happen if you as a normal person suddenly got sucked into the Disney universe, and you have Bugs Bunny and Mickey Mouse running around? What do you do in that scenario? Well, first off, you get a giant magical key that tells you that you're the chosen one to destroy evil. Of course, that's what you get on with. Anyway, so I just wanted to explain the general premise, because now we're all set for talking about the different Disney worlds.
All the conglomerate of bad guys is mainly made up of a council of villains from various Disney.
Oh, it's amazing.
You've got
love it. They're all
from Before Christmas, Captain Hook, and they're all led by Maleficent from Sleeping Beauty.
It's like the Legion of Doom, but they're all Disney villains. I love it. It's so great.
Yeah. That little squirt took down that Heartless. Who'd have thought it?
Such is the power of the Keyblade. The child's strength is not his own.
Why don't we turn him into a Heartless? That'll settle things quick enough.
And the brat's friends are the king's lackeys. Slug on the eyes, they're all bilge rats by the look of them. You're no prize yourself.
For me, my frame of reference was I used to watch as a kid on the Disney Channel The House of Mouse.
Of course.
Oh, yes. I remember that.
Yes, I love that.
But there was one episode, it was a Halloween episode called The House of Villains, and the idea was that Jafar and Maleficent and all the evil baddies take over the House of Mouse, and then they screened all of the kind of the scary Halloween Disney skits.
Okay, everybody, now it's time for a change of pace.
Lights out.
Right you are, Mickey. It's Halloween, you know, and with just the right touch. It's our house now. It's our
Yeah, so that was my frame of reference for like this evil Disney's council, you know. But it's fantastic. Yeah, you get all these villains and they're all going, yes, we shall use the Heartless, and the Heartless are the shadow monsters. We shall use the Heartless to take over the world. You go, what the hell is going on plot-wise?
Do you know what I want to bring up, actually? Because you mentioned the Keyblade earlier. I would just say as a general kind of observer of like fantasy items and cosmetics and stuff, like you look at the lightsaber in Star Wars, and you look at a magic wand or a staff by a wizard in Lord of the Rings, etc.
Or a Master Sword from Legend of Zelda.
Yeah, exactly. One thing that's very interesting is that in a lot of fiction, it's very difficult to make a unique sword that's like its own thing, and it's kind of like does something clever with the universe that it sets itself in and becomes original. The Keyblade as a concept, as a sort of melee weapon, is really original, and I think it's really creative what they did. And
it's so fun.
It's so fun. It's great. It looks cool, and also it serves a massive purpose in the story. I actually own a Kingdom Hearts hoodie with multiple keyblades on it, or like all the keyblades from the first Kingdom Hearts game.
I thought you were about to say that you own a Keyblade.
I do own a Keyblade.
Oh, okay.
But it's a miniature one. It's like a mini one.
Oh, right. I thought you were talking about
I can see it in the corner there.
There are plenty of people out there who have a giant Keyblade, like the actual legit thing.
Oh no! Every Comic-Con I've been tempted to buy one.
Yeah, there's always ones at Comic-Con.
Yeah, maybe next time.
It's mad. So I want to talk about the origins of the series just a little bit, because it's fascinating. It was Hironobu Sakaguchi, who was the creator of Final Fantasy, was chatting to Shinji Hashimoto, who was a producer at Square. So at this time it was Squaresoft and not later on Square Enix, which is what they are now. But anyway, they were talking about Mario 64 and how they wanted to do a kind of Final Fantasy game, but in the style of Mario 64, where you can run around, jump around, and kind of like a platformer, but a 3D world. Because obviously Final Fantasy VII, you think about that, it's actually quite linear in how it's designed. Like, it's a big open world, but ultimately once you get in the world, there's only set places you can move around. Anyway, so that was the idea. But then they were saying that obviously Mario could kind of do whatever he wanted because he was such a big, famous character at that point. So they weren't sure if a Mario plus Final Fantasy idea would work. And so they kind of said, oh, but what if we could get like Disney? Because obviously Disney's so massive. Maybe we could do something with that. And lo and behold, Square at the time, the company, was in the same building in Japan as the Disney headquarters. And so one day, Shinji Hashimoto ran into a Disney executive in the elevator and pitched the game to him. And that's how it got started. And then they brought on Tetsuya Nomura, who was the lead character designer for Final Fantasy VII, to become the director. And then it was written by both Tetsuya Nomura and Shinji Hashimoto. So I just wanted to bring that up because I know
it's cool.
We're keen to discuss other stuff, but it's such a funny origin story. But I had to kind of mention it.
No, I'm glad you did, because like the origin story is just as goofy as the actual game itself, and like to be honest, like I mean, to be honest, to this day, just as you've correctly mentioned, Ewan, it's such an odd game, and even to this day, my brain can't really comprehend that it exists. It's a bit like, what? And just like even just like playing it, like, am I in the right timeline right now playing this game? This is not making any sense.
Come on, Sora, we gotta close the door to darkness. Like,
one thing in the game I really liked was the music. Like, it's all really whimsical and matches the tone of the game, and also matches each area. Because it's all themed around. I think they even take like kind of like the Little Mermaid stuff sounds like kind of like Under the Sea. Halloween stuff sounds like This Is Halloween, etc., etc. And also, I really like the gummy ship music.
It's such a precious soundtrack, the whole thing.
And even like the main menu theme is just perfect.
Yeah.
Oh my god, the Dearly Beloved is the most gorgeous little piano piece. And again, it's so out of left field. Like, why is the music that you start the game up really kind of sad and emotional?
Yeah.
It's like this sweet little piano piece. It's fascinating. So that was Yoko Shimomura, we should mention, as the composer.
It's kind of happy as well. It's like
it's peaceful.
It's like it's not it's not sad. It's like kind of like a mix. It's kind of got a melancholy feel to it, but it also sounds quite happy.
Yeah, it's interesting.
It's also simple and clean. That's it, simple and clean.
Yeah,
which is a lovely track.
Yeah, the Utada Hikaru was who performed it, and that's the J-pop that starts the game. It's great. But it's a great song.
But it's an instrumental version of it as well, which is absolutely gorgeous. Yeah, no, the soundtrack in the game is just amazing.
It really stands out. Yeah.
They also reuse some famous Final Fantasy tracks in this game.
They do, yeah.
I suppose we're going to just kind of jump in. We've mentioned Final Fantasy already. There is a return of a very famous Final Fantasy villain called Sephiroth from Final Fantasy VII, and he is the hardest boss to beat in this game, basically. And his signature track plays as well as you're doing it. It's like remixed and kind of modernised, and it's absolutely just brilliant.
What do you mean? I did that the first time I did it.
What?
No, obviously I didn't get that far.
Really love Sephiroth's design in this game, where like he's got the one wing and he's got these kind of weird. It's very cool. It's just a very different outfit. I love Cloud's redesign as well, where he's got the Buster Sword, but it's all covered up in like tape. Like he's trying to keep it all together, which is really fun.
The other day, I was just talking to you about Kingdom Hearts and that redesign. I actually said I read in a forum somewhere that the reason why they did that is because Disney thought he was too edgy and his sword was too edgy. So they were afraid that he was going to cut himself on the edge of it, and that made me laugh a lot. So I thought it was quite funny. I like to think that was the case, but
you can definitely see the Final Fantasy VII influence on the look of Sora and Riku, and like I'm talking about the spiky hair. Like the spiky hair is everywhere, and that makes sense because it was Tetsuya Nomura who's the lead character designer for Final Fantasy VII. He also did the character designs for and the concept art for Kingdom Hearts as well, so it makes sense. But no, it's funny.
This was one of the first lot of PS2 games I actually played, and I was not used to the functionality of the PS2 and what it was capable of. One of the things is that the PS2 had a vibrating control that vibrated in certain cutscenes in a video game, for instance, and there was that beautiful moment when you...
PS1 had that?
Yeah, but it was like not so often. It would be like in the game, but not during cutscenes. So for me, it was what was really weird is that like during the Gummy Ship reveal with Chip and Dale, and all the cogs are turning, we had the controller on the floor, we weren't touching it, and suddenly started vibrating on its own, and both my brother and I were just like, whoa! So that was pretty...
That's so funny.
It's a little memory I have of the game, which I thought was quite nice, but I thought bring that up. It was a real shocker. Do we want to jump in and talk about the world? Because there's a lot there. It's a very...
Yeah, this is where my problems started with Wonderland. I really didn't like Wonderland.
Not a great world. I agree.
This was quite early on. This was probably a warning sign, actually, to be fair. When I was playing this, I was tempted to just not play the game and just watch the cutscenes. Like, it's really unclear where you're supposed to go or what you're supposed to do. I spent ages stuck there, not knowing where I was supposed to go, and I was like, oh, how did this game get past playtesting in this absolute state? Like, I was walking around and I realised
I got past Wonderland as a kid though, so I don't think it's that unintuitive. You just literally run around a bit.
You gotta just hit a few things, and it's I know. To be fair,
I think one of my big problems throughout a lot of the game was it's not super clear where you're supposed to go in some places, so it is a lot of trial and error. Like, I had to use a walkthrough for at least 50% of this game.
That's fair game. I'm all for people using walkthroughs if they get stuck on the game and they want to enjoy the rest of the game. I feel like there's a point if you're struggling with the game, then it feels like the game is holding a good story hostage, and I feel like a walkthrough is absolutely fine.
The worst world for that is definitely Monstro.
Yes.
We should mention so Monstro is the whale from Pinocchio, and yes, you do get swallowed by him, which again is a great idea, but the actual level itself is infuriating.
Oh, that was a really cool one. I like.
Really?
That was one of the bits I liked.
Oh, I hated it.
I liked that bit.
I like the level. I don't like the level.
So
yeah, I don't like the level design where it's so complicated trying to figure out where everything is. The idea is that you're running around inside its guts.
That did stump me with
it's such a pain in the bum.
That is a literal maze.
It's just Like, I mean, I see it both ways. To be fair, I'm going to be fair on Rob, because I also didn't particularly like the Alice in Wonderland land. Not because it was absurdly difficult, but I just thought it was just uninteresting. I thought it was a bit grey and dark, and I didn't really like it.
Yeah, it's a shame considering how colourful the film is. I think they capture the nonsense logic, which I really like, but a lot of it is spent in the forest, which is kind of like Lotus Forest.
It felt like a forest built in a cardboard box, and I thought, I didn't like that.
Yeah, it's a strange feeling. It's very weird. Yeah, the other worlds
but
don't
actually
feel
great
like
points
that.
that you in Monstro is a pain in the bum, because it's... I'm going to keep saying pain in the bum from here on. But like, every room looks identical, and it kind of reminded me of playing Resident Evil a little bit, where I was just kind of running back and forth into the same rooms over and over again, and I was just like... Even with a guide, I was struggling with it as well at one point.
Like, I struggle. I struggle with it.
That bit of struggle, I just like the... Aesthetically, it looks cool, though.
Another thing I wanted to talk about as well, Atlantica
also
felt like a bit of a pain in the bum, because Ursula's boss fight was ridiculous.
Yeah, I was going to mention Atlantica.
That Ursula's boss fight. Yeah, most of my problems with this game were with the boss fight, but this was one of the funniest moments. This one makes me laugh, and to be fair, Ewan said fair play when I was mentioning this, was I went through most of the game without equipping any skills or any keyblades. So I used like the base keyblade for most of this game. I got up to Ursula and I was in our group chat just venting my frustrations, like, why is this so hard? Why can't you see the boss's health? Like, surely that should be a feature. And he was like, it's a skill you unlock. I'm like, why does it have to be a skill you unlock?
Because it's part of the game. Keys. You know, it's the level completion.
Yeah, and I was like, and then I went and realised, oh, you can equip other keyblades. So I equipped like the Pumpkinhead keyblade and did it instantly.
Rob, I love you, man, but like the moment you said, "Oh my god, I can equip other keyblades," I was like, "No wonder you're having a bad time." I was just like, for crying out loud, dude.
I did find it, that was very funny. Yeah, no, I mean, that's the thing, like, I like the fact that you can equip and then unequip certain abilities, so if you do want to, like, play the entire game without the health bars, like, so you can see how much health the various enemies have, you can play it without that, which is a cool, like, that's the thing, it's like a challenge meter, like, to see how far you can go without knowing, like, how quickly the enemy will go down, sort of thing. And there's all these other abilities. This is crazy, so I've got my PS3 Kingdom Hearts 1.5 remix, which adds some features to the game, but one of the things it added was an ability that you can equip at the very start, which stops you leveling up at all. So if you want to play the entire game on level 1...
Why does this exist?
There are challenge junkies out there who are far stronger than any of us who would attempt to do that. But I looked at that. I think it might only pop up on Proud Mode, and Proud Mode's the hardest difficulty, which of course I played through and beat, of course. I think so. That was a little feature on that. I recommend Proud Mode for anyone. I really enjoyed that.
I struggled on level 50.
Yeah, no, it's still a hard game.
It's just a hard game, full stop.
Yeah.
To be fair, most of my aside from Wonderland, most of my problems with probably the last half of the game.
Sure.
Aside from the Cave of Wonders in Agrabah, because that got on my nerves.
That was very funny.
Yeah, and that was because I did that with the
the original Keyblade. That's amazing. To be fair to you, Rob, it took me a while to realise that you could equip different...
I had the same thing when I was a kid as well, but I realised it when I was playing Kingdom Hearts 2, and I was like, hold on a minute, what? There's no tutorial that explains how to do it, to be fair, on everyone.
No, so maybe that's the problem.
Yeah, because this was my first time playing the game properly, so...
Oh yeah, no, I think
that's one last thing before we move on from Atlantica, the world. Is that, just to bring this up briefly, is that Chain of Memories... the next game that comes afterwards, does pretty much borrow the assets of Kingdom Hearts 1, including the worlds and the characters.
Yeah, it's kind of a Majora's Mask kind of
exactly, but also the Ursula boss is terrible in that one as well, and it's even worse.
You're supposed to get behind her, and she keeps turning around. It's so annoying. I was like,
no, you just hit her face loads of times, like I did.
To be fair, no, I did what Rob did, which is go behind her.
She gave me the biggest, like on Proud Mode, she was definitely the hardest fight for me, bizarrely enough. Yeah, no, I don't know why. No, I want to talk about Halloween Town, because I think we all agreed that's like one of our favourite.
That was one of the bits I really liked. I just loved the design.
Yeah.
Which is weird because, like, controversially, I'm not a big fan of Nightmare Before Christmas. Maybe it's because when I first watched it, I was like 24.
Right.
I watched it and I was just like, yeah, I like the visual style, but it wasn't made for me.
Halloween Town is definitely the best world in this game, in my opinion.
It's the best Disney world, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, they all get a costume change, so they all look like scary Halloween Town characters.
Oh, yeah, it's really
and
cool.
the music is the Halloween Town theme song. It's so fun. And you get to hang out with Jack Skellington.
Yes, you do.
It's great.
And now, allow me to introduce the Master of Terror, the King of Nightmares, Jack Skellington!
I think that Kingdom Hearts is at its best when there's an original story for each of the Disney worlds, and in this case, this is definitely an instance of that. Kingdom Hearts 2 follows more through the film's actual story, whereas this is an actual original Nightmare Before Christmas story, and it's like a prequel to the main film, where they're basically trying to... Well, Jack Skellington is trying to make his own artificial heart, and he tries to give a Heartless a heart. Jack Skellington is so lovely because they keep it in tune with the movie. I feel like the guys who wrote the script and the developers of the game do get Nightmare Before Christmas quite nicely.
Yeah.
Because Jack Skellington is perfect. He goes up to Sally like, trust me, you'll love it. It's going to be great. This is Heartless and all that. And it's just like so in tune with it.
I love the fact that his plan ends in a horrible disaster, and like at the end of that level, you have Jack saying, "But next year it'll be fantastic."
Yeah.
You know, he's like already thinking of new ideas.
And I love what Uki says.
He hasn't learned his lesson at all.
Uki says like, "A heart? That bonehead is really making a heart? I'll be jiggered." That's an actual quote in the game, and I love that.
That bonehead Jack is really making a heart? I'll be jiggered.
It's amazing.
It's a very oogie boogie thing to say, yeah.
One of my favourite lands was the Lost Jungle, which is Tarzan land, which I think it's possibly down to Tarzan was like literally the second film I ever saw in the cinema after Phantom Menace. So it's cool experiencing the story, but with the added Kingdom Hearts stuff. Like it did have kind of the stuff of like not telling you exactly where you need to go, but I liked exploring the jungle, and you end fighting Brian Blessed riding a giant chameleon, which was absolutely badass.
Oh, literally,
that's amazing.
Clayton in Tarzan, like the Clayton boss fight is like literally Crazy Frog. When you think about it, he's like got an invisible like floating thing. He's got it floating around. It's just like, that's Crazy Frog.
Can I tell you guys that on the proud mode of 1.5, Sabor the leopard is really hard. Like Sabor killed me like 3 times.
I have one criticism of the Tarzan level, and it's to do with the vines.
Oh yeah,
they're not great. I don't think they're terrible either. They're not terrible. Like,
it's a very half-hearted attempt to kind of achieve the vine swinging. It's there more to just be like, look, we're in the Tarzan world.
But yeah, like I say, the issue with the vines is that they're serviceable, that you can get around a level and stuff like that. They're not great, but there's the transition. I played a lot of the PS1 Tarzan game, and I thought it was an amazing game, like thinking back to it. And one of the things I really liked about it was the vine system. I know that's such a weird sentence, the vine system, but like literally swing from the vines, moving up and down the vines and stuff like that, and it was like one of the best platforming things I've seen ever, and I thought if they could just like maybe just build a little bit more on that in the Kingdom Hearts game and build what they did best in the PS1 game, it would have definitely helped, I think.
I like the tree branch slide. That's cute. Again, that's like a little nod.
Nice.
Yeah, a little nod to the Tarzan world.
There's a PS2 game which is called, I think something called like Tarzan Free Ride, which is pretty much just sliding down the trees.
The Lord of the Jungle's back with Disney's Tarzan Free Ride.
I wanted to talk about the Heartless very quickly because they're very cute. So the Heartless are the main villains, are the shadow creatures of Kingdom Hearts. They're literally the things that are destroying the world, and their designs are mainly adorable.
Playing as a Heartless is hilarious as well.
Oh my god!
To play as a Heartless, and you just sort of jump around clumsily. It's great.
At one point, you do become a Heartless and you run
around.
Oh yeah,
that bit was cool. We know Hollow Bastion.
They're like little buggy creatures. Yeah. That sequence is amazing when you're running around and you get rescued by Kairi.
Speaking of Heartless, that was one thing that I found. It wasn't like a massive thing that really turned me off the game, but it was something that I found a bit annoying. Was just they just randomly spawn here and there. Like, I guess it's a preference on my part because I'm not really into that kind of thing. Like, I would have preferred it if, like, the enemy encounters were just, like, set points rather than just you're exploring the world and suddenly, oh, look, random enemies coming to attack you. Like, it's fun for a little bit, and then after a while, it gets tedious.
It's great when you need to grind.
Like, even with Pokemon, even with Pokemon, I get a bit annoyed with that.
It's not random, though. Like, the placements of the Heartless never change. Like, they are always in these set areas of the various maps, and you can kind of just run past them a lot of the time if you need to. I don't know, like, they don't randomly spawn like in Pokemon. But I know what you mean. They are relentless. At the very start of the game, they literally tell Sora, they'll never stop hunting you, get used to it.
The Heartless have great fear of the Keyblade. That's why they'll keep coming after you, no matter what.
Well, I didn't ask for this.
The Keyblade chooses its master, and it chose you.
The one enemy type that I particularly found annoying were the big fat ones.
Yeah.
Because you've got to hit them from behind, they've got this big shield around the front, and they can belly flop you and kill you really easily. And everyone came up with
hard.
Not more of these guys.
I love those guys. Large bodies.
They give you a lot of XP.
Yeah, they do. But I love the fact that later on, like, they bring them back because they knew that they were annoying, and they just gave them a bigger health bar. So they knew what they were doing when they did that. I just wanted to say the Heartless are really adorable, and I should get.
I want to get a plushie.
I should get loads of. I want to get a plushie. Yeah.
They get Comic-Con.
I'd find it quite sinister though. It might steal my heart. Anyway, yeah. The Heartless are creatures of darkness. The whole story is literally a story of light versus darkness, and the idea is the Heartless are creatures born from the darkness in your heart. It's amazing writing, and the more you give into this darkness, the more likely the Heartless will take over, and eventually you'll turn into a Heartless, and they'll steal your heart, and they're called the Heartless because they're constantly searching for hearts to consume. But so it's all this kind of light and darkness story.
I really like Riku as a character. I know he's an edgelord. Yeah, he's just 2000s edge guy. He looks like he came straight out of the Beyblade anime, but still, he's great.
Yes.
He's probably my favourite character in the game. He's often framed as a bad guy for getting jealous. But he's basically framed as being the bad guy for being jealous of Donald and Goofy for being Sora's friends.
Well, the thing is, he's manipulated into it by Maleficent.
That's what I'm getting into. So Sora has everything handed to him on a platter. He has Disney and Final Fantasy characters looking after him right off the get-go. And he is the chosen one. Riku has to go through his own difficult path. And you have to remember, Riku is literally a kid thrown into another world all alone. Essentially has literally no one apart from a bunch of villains. Maleficent fundamentally adopts him and saying, like, he's like a son to her.
You see, it's just as I told you. While you toiled away trying to find your dear friend, he quite simply replaced you with some new companions. Evidently. Now he values them far more than he does you. You're better off without that wretched boy. Now think no more of him and come with me. I'll help you find what you're searching for.
He's not someone who has a path set out for him. He's a lost kid who's a victim to his circumstances. So naturally, he makes stupid decisions.
The Heartless obey me now, Sora. Now I have nothing to fear.
You're stupid!
His development becomes even more complex in Chain of Memories and stuff like that. I know Rob doesn't... I know you have not had a good experience with Kingdom Hearts, but I do recommend watching the Riku cutscenes of Chain of Memories because it's such a lovely story. It's one of my favourite Kingdom Hearts stories. His heart is in the right place, and he does try to do the right thing in the end.
Even in this game, when he's set up as the kind of bad guy, or the kind of the antagonist to Sora's kind of protagonist. But ultimately, what he's doing is he is using, like, he's giving himself up to darkness to gain more power, but he's doing it to try and rescue Kairi. Kairi disappears, they find her, but she's unconscious, and so they're trying to figure out how to bring her back, and he thinks, if I use the powers of darkness, that'll save her.
Riku tries to sacrifice Pinocchio.
I'm angry at that.
Sacrifice Pinocchio and we can bring Kairi back, and Sora's like, no, that's evil. Pinocchio's a lifelong doom. And he's like, you value this puppet over your friends.
Literally, Pinocchio's dad's like, no, my boy. And then Riku's like, lol, sentient puppet. I'm going to deliver him to the forces of darkness. Bye. It's just like, what the hell? I want to make some sort of sweeping, brief comments about the other worlds. I'll be as quick as I possibly can. Aladdin, quickly. I liked the Aladdin level. I thought it was fun. I enjoyed that, and I like Aladdin myself. but it still annoys me as a world.
I liked the Agrabah world, apart from the Cave of Wonders, which was my fault because I didn't equip a good Keyblade. I was using the standard Keyblade. I think probably I've got a bit of a bias towards Aladdin because when I was 8 years old, I was in like a drama club at school, and we put a production of Aladdin, and I played Aladdin.
Oh, there you go. Well, I like the Aladdin world. I don't know. I've always been kind of disappointed by that world.
I get this is all meant to be in tune with Disney cartoon stories and, the main film stories, but Aladdin could have stopped the stars from going out, saved the universe, and single-handedly ended all the forces of darkness with his 3 wishes, or surely at least given the lamp to Sora, Donald, and Goofy to get them additional wishes to help them on their journey before he was made human.
It's the classic problem of having an all-powerful genie.
And now he's like, Genie, I want you to be free.
It's like, you just basically doomed us all. Thanks for that.
Maybe I wouldn't have had to fight that stupid gargoyle boss if it wasn't for you, Aladdin.
Patience, my fine feathered friend. Any 3 wishes.
Moving on to another world is the Peter Pan level. Now, the Peter Pan level is interesting.
You can fly.
It's interesting because
that's with Shadow Sora.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yes, it is. You're quite right.
I love that world.
Where are those damn Chaos Emeralds? But the Peter Pan level is interesting because, in my opinion, the level is kind of uninteresting. It's inoffensive and quite closed in. But then a boss shows up, and then you can fly, and then you can fly around Big Ben. It's just
you can fly around Big Ben. It's crazy.
After fighting Ursula, Captain Hook was such a relief. I did Captain Hook first time. Shadow Sora caused me more problems than Captain Hook.
Shadow Sora is such a great concept. I love that.
The last comment is Beast. I enjoyed the Beast story the most. And again, like I said before, the Disney worlds are at their best when they're an original story made for the game. And this is a story where Beast is literally trying to rescue Belle from the forces of darkness.
Beast's story mirrors Sora's.
Yeah.
It's a story, like the world of Beauty and the Beast disappears like Sora's does. And just like Sora, Beast also sets out to rescue Belle because she's been kidnapped by Maleficent. So it is that same story. It's so good. I love that you run into this fellow traveler who's also has that same strength of will and
he's your best friend.
That courage. Yeah,
he's your only friend at that point.
Why did you come here? I came to fight for Belle. And though I am on my own, I will fight. I won't leave without her.
Me too. I'm not gonna give up now. I came here to find someone very important to me.
And he's an absolute tank as well, because at that point, Riku's nicked your Keyblade.
I'm the one who fought my way here with the Keyblade!
You were just the delivery boy.
And so you're left with a sword, which is about as useful as a one-legged man in an ass-kicking contest. So you've got Beast helping you because Donald and Goofy are like, Mickey said we have to follow where the key goes, so we're going with you, Riku, even though you're being evil. So then
thanks a lot, Donald and
Beast,
Goofy.
and Beast
suck.
So then Beast, he basically helps you out until you get your Keyblade back. But even then, he sticks in your path and he absolutely dominates. He will just
I love Beast
pretty much
so
one
much.
hit.
Yeah, it's great.
It's my favourite.
And while we're talking about Holobastion, I really liked the design of it. I just didn't like how you could keep falling off.
Yeah, you got to be really careful about falling off the edge.
I really didn't like having to fight that dragon because
I love that boss fight so much.
Good.
It's one of my favourites.
It took me a lot. I resorted to jumping on its back and just spamming magic attacks and using all my what's it called? Ethers and elixirs.
Oh, amazing. Maleficent, she turns into her dragon form, and it's a really cool boss fight. When she snaps, she makes the same snap sound that she does in the original movie, which is really cool. But I love that whole world. It's really neat.
I think part of my frustration with it comes from the fact that I was playing the original PS2 version because of one thing. You cannot skip cutscenes, no matter how many times you watch them. You have to sit through them every time you die, and it just gets like,
If it's any consolation, Rob, I originally played the PS2 version, and yes, there are certain cutscenes that are burned into my skull. Like the big boss fight with Riku in Hollow Bastion, I've got that ingrained into my brain. There is no way you're taking Kairi's heart.
Oh, yeah, see, Riku, after the dragon, Riku was
really
quite
easy in comparison. I didn't have any trouble with Maleficent, but I struggled with Riku.
And then I got stuck.
So I struggled with Riku. I struggled so much.
Riku only took me, like, I think 3-4 attempts.
For me, I was just like, I struggled. I was even messaging you into that, because like this is the first boss where Donald and Goofy just bugger off. Don't know what happens. I think this is the first boss where you don't have Donald and Goofy as support, and that's a bit of a frustrating and difficult thing, because Donald's really good for his cure ability. His healing does save your ass quite a lot. But you have to be tactical about your dodging with Riku, and it's really difficult. I remember finishing that boss fight, and then my game save file got corrupted, and I had to play it all over again. And I remember literally just suffering. So, yeah, I don't have fond memories of Riku as a boss.
I had this in Hollow Bastion as well. I was getting a bit too eager with my jumping in the library in Hollow Bastion, and I got stuck behind these bookcases with no way to get out. So I had to reset my console. The point where I stopped playing altogether, this is the point which stumped me, was the gargoyle from Fantasia. Shows up as a boss. And this was the point where I'd had enough. I think the boss fight itself would have been fine, but there is one move that just ruined everything for me, where something just at random points the gargoyle would surround himself in flames, and if you're anywhere near him at the time and you don't move away quick enough, you can just get killed instantly. And that, if it wasn't for that move, I think I would have been able to do it, but because of my strategy of hiding, of going behind him and hitting him on the back of the head, and the camera not being the best, it's not always clear when he's doing it.
He knew your tricks, Rob. He knew you'd go for the back of the head. I want to talk about, very quickly, the apocalyptic feel of the entire game. The entire plot is the stars are going out because every world is slowly being destroyed and presumably thousands of millions of people are dying.
It's like that Doctor Who episode where the Daleks take everyone.
Yeah, with Bernard Cribbins.
Yeah. The stars are going out.
R.I.P.
Yeah.
R.I.P.
The stars are going out.
But it's that same plot. It's really scary. Like at the very start, Goofy points out, "What are the stars going out?" And you go, "Oh my god!" And it's this nightmare. And you meet all of these refugees from all of these different worlds when their worlds got destroyed.
Oh yeah, because we've not talked about Traverse Town yet. That's where all the Final Fantasy characters are. Because their worlds have been destroyed.
Bastion, believe it or not, was their world.
It got taken over by the darkness.
Another thing, building up on your point, is that what makes this really unsettling is that these are characters that we all grew up with as kids, just kind of witnessing this all unfold. The fact that it's Goofy of all characters going, "Oh my god, all these worlds are being destroyed," I'm just like, this is horrible.
And all of the pages of Winnie the Pooh have been scattered throughout. So
can I just say, I love Winnie the Pooh. And I have the book on my bookshelf. I had it read to me as a kid. I watched all the films as a kid. I reread them as an adult. That's how sad it is. And they're so good. They're so good.
Oh yeah, they're lovely books. Yeah, you take the role of Christopher Robin in this.
Yeah, one
it's really sweet.
Exposure to Winnie the Pooh that's burned into mine was my little brother had a VHS tape which had episodes of the cartoon on. There's this really weird one where Winnie the Pooh accidentally deflates Christopher Robin's balloon, and he has this weird dream where he's in balloon court and he's being sentenced.
I remember that one.
For bursting a balloon, and he gets put into a cage.
That. That's weird how that comes back.
You, Pooh Bear, have been accused of popping a balloon. Guilty.
I was just saying I really like the Winnie the Pooh level. I much prefer it to and stuff like that. But also, it was just a nice break from all the darkness of the game. As weird as it sounds, it was just kind of like, here's a little lighthearted.
Yeah. It's a very sweet story. It's really sad at the start. Can we talk about how sad the start is? Because Winnie the Pooh is all on his own because all the pages have gone from the book, and so he's talking about. Well, I'm trying to think, and if
he can't remember anything.
Something about how if he can't remember his friends anymore, and he's trying to think maybe if I think enough, I'll forget Pooh as well. And I thought, no.
Everyone is gone. Everyone must have gone away while I was napping, I think. So who knows? Maybe I shall end up going away somewhere as well. But I wonder, how do I say goodbye to myself? Think.
Like, how do I think myself away?
One thing I thought was funny about that level, I didn't do all of it. I think I did it first, and then I was like, I'm not going back through the game to find all the pages. Sorry, Pooh. And what I did like was that instead of attack, it says hit.
Very deliberately kind of child friendly. It's really sweet.
Gorge, is that all that's left of the worlds taken by the Heartless?
I just want to say, finally, it's a very, very odd game, but one that I've got a lot of love and real respect for, in the sense that it had this high concept idea of Final Fantasy plus Disney, and they went out and they actually did it. And it's actually, for all the problems Rob pointed out, and most of them, yeah, a lot of them are valid, but ultimately, it's a fully functional, great game that you can play over and over and enjoy. And it's just fascinating to me that it exists and that Disney allowed it.
If you honestly hate the game so much gameplay wise, at least listen to the soundtrack, because it's just gorgeous.
Yes, I wasn't too fond of this game, but I will say there was a lot of things I did like in this game, as I've discussed throughout the episode. I didn't hate it. It just didn't click with me, which is a shame, because I really did want to like it, but it's just, you're not going to like every game. This is one of those games that just isn't for me.
I will say though, if you're burned by Kingdom Hearts 1, I will say that Kingdom Hearts 2 is a lot more playable. I think it does a better job of kind of getting you into it. So if you ever do want to give Kingdom Hearts another chance, I do recommend 2. I will say though that whereas I think that 1 works really well because it's a very simple story, ultimately, it's a very simple story of good versus evil, the world is ending, and then Sora and gang stop the world from ending. Once we get to Kingdom Hearts 2, it gets a little, let's just say, complicated.
Existential complicated.
I'm well aware. This is why we've got all the spin-offs on different consoles and everything.
So I will just say, if you were ever confused by anything going on in 1, good luck with the sequels.
Absolutely.
Who are you?
I'm what's left. Or maybe I'm all there ever was.
I meant your name.
But okay, I guess I'll just quickly say, yeah, my favourite world is Hollow Bastion. I think you guys both said Halloween Town.
I did, but I also think Winnie the Pooh as well, for me.
Okay, yeah. And my favourite character is...
Also Lost Jungle.
Yeah.
And Lost Jungle.
Favourite characters.
All right. Do I have a favourite character?
Oh yeah, favourite characters quickly.
It's a hard
you can
one,
say Disney characters and whatever.
Yeah, no, it's
Disney
cool.
character. Just because I played him when I was 8 years old, Aladdin.
Nice.
Jiminy Cricket. Because he's the chronicler. And he's just,
fair enough.
He's just writing down this massive story as you're going along. He's really funny.
I was going to say Beast, but I also like Cloud Strife, so I guess I'm one or the other on those. I like those characters. Okay, alright.
Thank you for listening to Bloobcast. We've been Rob, James and Ewan. You can find all of our episodes on bloobcast.com. We're also available on SoundCloud, Spotify and Apple Podcasts.
We also have a YouTube channel where we produce shorter episodes called Blooblets, where we discuss the latest news in popular culture. You can find us on social media with @BlueCastPod on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. Please like, follow and subscribe so you can get the latest updates on new episodes.
We also have an email address, which is bloobcast@outlook.com. So if you have any feedback or want to suggest things for us to review in our future episodes, please feel free to drop us an email and you'll get a shout out on the next episode. Please also rate and review us on YouTube and Apple Podcasts. More engagement helps us a lot. And finally, please share the podcast amongst your friends and family. Help spread the word so that the Bloobcast empire can become strong and mighty.
James, next episode. What are we talking about?
So I'm really excited to talk about this. This is something that I've grown up with as a kid, as I'm sure a lot of listeners will have done, and I'm sure both of you two have done as well, is Spider-Man.
Definitely.
The Sam Raimi Spider-Man film, the first ever Sam Raimi Spider-Man film, a magnificent film achievement. It was stuck in a lot of people's heads as they were growing up, and they watched it in cinema for the first time. It's captured the imagination, the modern imagination of Spider-Man as we know it today. Probably many ways more so than the actual comics. It's an amazing Sam Raimi project. Sam Raimi being an amazing director of horror. He worked on Evil Dead and Army of Darkness. An amazing, beautiful piece of cinema. I'm very excited to talk about. I'm a big Spider-Man fan, very close to my heart. Yeah, I've watched this film more than any other film I've probably watched ever. I'm very excited to watch it another 3 times. for the next podcast. Yeah, that's what we're going to jump into next time, guys, and I'm really excited for it.
The heart, Osborne. First, we attack his heart.
It'll be interesting to talk about, and also because of course, in the UK, there's a whole ratings debacle, which will be interesting to get into. But yeah, until then, the Bloobcast bids you farewell.
All the best, everyone. Thank you for listening.
I can't wait to meet Spider-Man in Kingdom Hearts 4.
It's fine, because Disney owns Spider-Man now.